The cargo ship Endless Horizon drifted through the empty space between stars. It was not a warship or an explorer vessel. It was simply a freighter that carried supplies from one human colony to another. The crew was small, only 12 people, and they liked it that way. Daniel Carter sat in the engine room and checked the power systems. He was 32 years old with rough hands and tired eyes. He had worked on ships since he was 18. He was not a hero or a soldier. He was just an engineer who kept engines running. The ship's alarm suddenly rang through the corridors. Daniel stood up and walked quickly to the bridge. Captain Lisa Morgan stood at the center of the room. She was a woman in her 40s with gray hair and a face that showed many years in space. She did not panic easily, but right now she looked worried. "What is it?" Daniel asked. "Distress signal," Lisa said, "coming from an escape pod about 2 hours away. It is drifting near the Corvin asteroid field." The crew members on the bridge exchanged looks. Everyone knew about the Corvin asteroid field. It was neutral space, far from any government's protection. Reckonar slavers liked to hunt in that area. They captured travelers and sold them to the highest bidder. "Could be a trap," said Nathan Cole, the navigator. He was a young man who always expected the worst. "Could be someone who needs help," Daniel said. Lisa looked at the sensor readings. "The pod is damaged. Life signs are weak but present. One passenger in slaver territory," Nathan said. "Definitely a trap." Daniel shook his head. "Or definitely someone who needs rescue." Lisa thought for a moment. The Endless Horizon was not built for fighting. If slavers attacked, they would lose. But leaving someone to die was not something she could do easily. "I will take a shuttle," Daniel said. "Quick trip. Grab the pod and come back. If it is a trap, you leave without me." "That is a stupid plan," Nathan said. "Probably," Daniel agreed. "But I am not going to sleep well if we fly away and let someone die out there." Lisa looked at him for a long moment. She had known Daniel for 5 years. He was stubborn in a way that was both annoying and admirable. When he decided something was right, nothing could change his mind. "Fine," she said. "Take shuttle 2. You have 90 minutes. If you're not back by then, we jump to safety." Daniel nodded and left the bridge. 20 minutes later, his small shuttle approached the asteroid field. Rocks the size of buildings floated around him. He flew carefully, watching his sensors for any sign of trouble. The escape pod was wedged between 2 asteroids. It was a small thing, barely big enough for 2 people. The metal was burned and cracked. Someone had been through a bad fight before reaching this place. Daniel brought his shuttle close and connected the 2 vessels. He put on his helmet and opened the airlock. The inside of the pod was dark and cold. Emergency power had failed hours ago. Daniel turned on his flashlight and moved forward. He found her lying on the floor. She was not human. Daniel had seen many alien species in his travels. The galaxy was full of different peoples. But he had never seen a Kethsari in person before. They were rare, ancient, and powerful. Their empire was one of the oldest in known space. They had cities when humans still lived in caves. The female was young, maybe equivalent to a human in her late teens. Her skin was pale blue, and her features were sharp and elegant. Silver blood covered a wound on her side. She was barely breathing. Daniel did not hesitate. He picked her up carefully and carried her to his shuttle. He did not think about politics or the fact that Kethsari considered humans to be primitive children. He only thought about the fact that she was hurt and needed help. He flew back toward the Endless Horizon as fast as he could. "Captain, I have the survivor," he reported through the radio. "She is Kethsari, badly injured. I need medical support ready when I dock." There was silence on the radio for a moment. "Did you say Kethsari?" Lisa asked. Yes, and she is in bad shape. Get back here fast. We have a problem. Daniel looked at his sensors. His stomach dropped. 3 ships had appeared from behind the largest asteroid. They were Reckoner raiders. Ugly vessels covered in weapons. They were moving to cut off his path to the endless horizon. A message came through on all channels. The voice was harsh and cruel. Human vessel, you have something that belongs to us. The HFY female is valuable cargo. Hand her over and you can leave. Refuse and we will destroy you and take her anyway. Daniel pushed his shuttle faster. The engine screamed in protest. I do not think so, he said quietly to himself. On the endless horizon, Lisa made her decision quickly. All power to engines. Nathan, plot a course out of here. We run the moment Daniel is aboard. We cannot outrun those raiders, Nathan said. We can try. Daniel's shuttle slammed into the docking bay. He was already carrying the HFY female when the bay doors closed behind him. Go! He shouted into his communicator. The endless horizon turned and ran. The 3 raider ships followed like wolves chasing a wounded animal. Daniel carried the alien to the medical bay. He placed her on the table and began treating her wound. His hands were steady even though his heart was racing. The ship shook as weapons fire hit their shields. Shields at 80%. Someone announced over the speakers. Daniel ignored it. He focused on stopping the bleeding, on keeping this stranger alive. He did not know who she was or why the slavers wanted her so badly. He only knew that she was hurt and alone and that he had chosen to help her. The endless horizon flew through space with death close behind. And in the medical bay, a simple human engineer fought to save a life that was not his own. He did not know that this moment would change everything. He did not know that empires would move because of what he did this day. He was just doing what he thought was right. The endless horizon shook again as another blast hit the shields. Warning lights flashed red throughout the ship. The cargo freighter was never built for this kind of punishment. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Morgan gripped her chair and watched the tactical display. 3 Reckoner raiders followed them through the asteroid field. The slavers were faster and better armed. It was only a matter of time before they caught up. Shields at 60%, Nathan reported. His voice was tight with fear. Keep flying, Lisa ordered. Use the asteroids for cover. In the medical bay, Daniel worked on the HFY female. He had stopped the bleeding and stabilized her vital signs. The ship's medical computer did not have much data on HFY biology, but the basics were similar enough to human medicine. Her eyes opened suddenly. They were deep purple, like the color of a sunset seen from space. She grabbed Daniel's arm with surprising strength. Her voice was weak but filled with fear. Where am I? Who are you? What have you done to me? Daniel raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. Easy. You are safe. My name is Daniel Carter. I am an engineer on a human cargo ship. We found your escape pod and rescued you. The female looked around the medical bay. Her expression changed from fear to confusion. Humans? You are humans? Yes. Why would humans help me? The ship shook again. Somewhere in the distance, metal groaned under stress. We can talk about that later, Daniel said. Right now, we are being chased by the same people who attacked you. Reckoner slavers. They want you back. The female's face went pale. She tried to sit up, but winced in pain. They cannot have me, she said. You do not understand. If they capture me, it will cause a war. Daniel frowned. Who are you? She hesitated for a moment. Then she seemed to decide that she had no choice but to trust him. My name is Valara HFY. I am the daughter of Queen Mother Syra HFY, ruler of the HFY Empire. Daniel stared at her. The words did not make sense at first. He had rescued a princess. Not just any princess, but the daughter of one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. That is not good, he said. No, Valara agreed. It is not. Daniel helped her sit up and then went to the communication panel on the wall. Captain, you need to hear this. He explained what Valara had told him. The bridge went silent. A princess, Lisa said finally. We have a Cathsari princess on board, and 3 slaver ships trying to kill us. Yes, Lisa laughed, but there was no humor in it. This day just keeps getting better. Nathan's voice cut in. Shields at 40%. We cannot take much more of this. Daniel looked at the sensor display in the medical bay. The 3 raider ships were getting closer. The endless horizon was slowing down as damage accumulated. He made a decision. Captain, I have an idea. I will take a shuttle and draw them away. They want the princess. If they think she is with me, they will follow. That is suicide, Lisa said. Maybe, but if I do nothing, we all die. This way, you have a chance to escape with her. Valara grabbed his arm again. Why would you do this? You do not know me. My people have never been kind to yours. We call you children and ignore you. Why would you sacrifice yourself for me? Daniel looked at her. The question seemed strange to him. The answer was so simple. Because you need help. That is enough. Valara stared at him like he was speaking a language she did not understand. Lisa's voice came through the speaker. Daniel, I do not like this plan. Neither do I, but it is the only plan we have. There was a long pause. Then Lisa spoke again. You have 10 minutes to get to the shuttle. Make it count. Daniel moved toward the door. Valara called out to him. Human. Daniel, if you survive this, I will make sure my mother knows what you did. Daniel smiled slightly. If I survive this, I will probably just go back to fixing engines. But thank you. He ran through the corridors of the ship. Crew members watched him pass, knowing what he was about to do. Some nodded at him. Others looked away, unable to face his sacrifice. He reached the shuttle bay and climbed into Shuttle 1. The small vessel was not fast, but it was quick enough to get attention. I'm launching now, he said into the radio. The shuttle flew out of the bay and turned toward the raiders. Daniel activated his communication system and broadcast on all channels. Vrakaner vessels, this is the shuttle carrying the Cathsari female. You want her? Come and get her. The response was immediate. 2 of the 3 raider ships broke off their pursuit of the endless horizon. They turned and chased Daniel. Instead, Daniel pushed the shuttle into the asteroid field. Rocks flew past his windows. He twisted and turned through gaps that barely fit his ship. Behind him, the raiders followed. They were angry now. They had been tricked, and they knew it. But they could not ignore the possibility that he was telling the truth. On the endless horizon, Lisa watched the sensors. 2 raiders were chasing Daniel. One still followed her ship, but one was better than 3. Get us out of here, she ordered Nathan. Full speed. Valara made her way to the bridge despite her injury. She watched the sensor display showing Daniel's shuttle being chased through the asteroids. He is going to die, she said quietly. Probably, Lisa replied. Her voice was heavy with grief. That is the kind of man he is. Valara did not respond. She simply watched as the small human shuttle disappeared deeper into the asteroid field. 2 hunters close behind. She had studied humans from a distance. She had read about their short lives and their strange emotions. But she had never understood them. Now, watching this simple engineer throw away his life for her, she began to understand something new. Humans were not children. They were something else entirely. Something dangerous. Something beautiful. Daniel flew through the asteroid field like a man who had nothing to lose. Rocks bigger than his shuttle spun around him. One wrong move would turn him into dust. The two Reckoner raiders followed close behind. They were bigger and more powerful than his tiny shuttle. But they were also less careful. They wanted him dead, and their anger made them sloppy. Daniel dove between two spinning asteroids. The gap was barely wide enough for his shuttle. He heard metal scrape against rock as he passed through. Behind him, one of the raiders tried to follow. It was too big. The ship clipped an asteroid and spun out of control. It crashed into another rock and exploded in a ball of fire. One down. One to go, but the second raider was smarter. It hung back and waited for a clear shot. Daniel could not hide forever. He checked his sensors. The endless horizon was far away now, almost at the edge of HFY space. The Lara would be safe. That was all that mattered. The raider fired. Daniel twisted his shuttle hard to the left. The blast missed him by meters. He tried every trick he knew. He hid behind asteroids. He vented atmosphere to confuse their sensors. He even flew straight at a large rock and pulled up at the last moment, hoping the raider would crash. But the hunter was patient. It stayed on him like a shadow. Finally, a shot hit his engine. The shuttle shook violently. Alarms filled the cabin. Daniel fought with the controls, but it was no use. His ship was dying. The raider pulled alongside him. A tractor beam grabbed his shuttle and pulled it into the larger ship's docking bay. Daniel sat in his seat and waited. He knew what was coming. The door of his shuttle was ripped open. Reckoner soldiers poured in. They were tall and covered in gray scales. Their eyes were black and empty of mercy. They grabbed Daniel and threw him to the floor. A Reckoner captain walked forward. He was larger than the others, with scars covering his face. "Where is the HFY female?" the captain demanded. Daniel looked up at him. "I do not know what you are talking about." The captain kicked him in the ribs. Pain exploded through Daniel's body. "Do not play games with me, human. We know you took her from the escape pod. Where is she?" Daniel coughed and tasted blood. "She's long gone. You will never find her." The captain smiled. "It was an ugly thing. We will see about that. Take him to the interrogation room." Far away, the endless horizon reached the border of HFY space. Captain Lisa Morgan opened a communication channel and sent an emergency message to the HFY Empire. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the human cargo vessel Endless Horizon. We have Princess Valara HFY aboard our ship. She was attacked by Reckoner slavers and rescued by a member of our crew. We request immediate assistance." She paused, then added, "One of my crew members sacrificed himself to ensure the princess's safety. His name is Daniel Carter. He's currently a prisoner of the slavers. Please, if you can help him, please do." The message was sent. All they could do now was wait. On the raider ship, hours passed. Daniel lost track of time. The Reckoner asked the same questions again and again. Where was the princess? Where was the human ship going? What was the plan? Daniel said nothing. They beat him. They burned him. They broke his fingers one by one. He still said nothing. The captain stood over him, confused and angry. "Why do you protect her? She is not your kind. The HFY think you humans are less than dirt. Why suffer for them?" Daniel looked up through swollen eyes. His voice was barely a whisper. "Because it is the right thing to do." The captain did not understand. He could not understand. In his world, everyone had a price. Everyone would break eventually. But this human kept refusing to break. "Humans are strange creatures," the captain muttered. "Stubborn and stupid." "Mostly stubborn," Daniel agreed. Then he smiled through his broken teeth. The captain hit him again. Daniel fell into darkness. In the HFY Imperial Palace. Queen Mother Syra HFY sat on her throne and received the human message. Her advisors stood around her, waiting for her reaction. Syrah was ancient by human standards. She had ruled her empire for 300 years. She had seen countless species rise and fall. She had watched humanity crawl out of their small planet and spread across the stars. She had never thought much of them. They lived such short lives. They were so emotional and impulsive. They were children playing in a galaxy full of adults, but now, this message told her something new. A human had saved her daughter. Not for money, not for power, not for political advantage, just because it was the right thing to do, and now that same human was being tortured because he refused to betray her daughter. SYRA stood from her throne. Her advisors stepped back in surprise. The Queen Mother never stood for anyone. Send the royal fleet, she commanded. Find my daughter and bring her home. And find this human. I want him alive. Commander Thalvin, her personal guard captain, stepped forward. Your Majesty, he's just a human. Is he worth the resources? Syrah looked at him with ancient eyes. He saved my bloodline. He's being tortured for my family's sake and is not broken. If that is not worth my attention, then nothing is. She turned back to her throne. Find him, Thalvin, and make sure those slavers understand what happens when they touch someone under my protection. The commander bowed and left to prepare the fleet. The galaxy was about to learn that some humans were worth more than anyone had ever imagined. The Cathsari royal fleet moved through space like a storm of silver and light. 20 warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Commander Thalvin stood on the bridge of the lead ship and watched the stars pass by. He had served the Queen Mother for over a century. He had fought in dozens of wars and killed more enemies than he could count. But this mission was different. This time, he was hunting slavers who had dared to touch the royal family. And he was supposed to rescue a human. Thalvin did not understand humans. They were so fragile and short-lived. Their bodies broke easily. Their technology was primitive. Yet this one human had done something that even Cathsari warriors rarely did. He had sacrificed himself for a stranger with no hope of reward. That it made no sense that the fleet reached the endless horizon first. Thalvin transported to the cargo ship to meet the princess himself. Valara looked tired but healthy. Her wound had been treated by the human medical officer. She stood on the bridge surrounded by the human crew who had protected her. Princess, Thalvin said, bowing deeply. Your mother sent me to bring you home. I know, Valara replied. But first, we must rescue Daniel. The human? Yes. He saved my life, Commander. He's being tortured right now because of me. We cannot leave him. Thalvin wanted to argue. One human life was not worth the risk of the royal fleet. But he saw something in the princess's eyes that stopped him. She cared about this human. Truly cared. We have already tracked the slaver vessel, he said. They are hiding in an outpost at the edge of Rekinar territory. We will attack within the hour. Captain Lisa Morgan stepped forward. Permission to join the rescue, Commander. Thalvin looked at her with surprise. You are a cargo ship. You have no weapons. Daniel is my crew member. I will not abandon him. The commander studied her face. He saw the same stubbornness he had read about in the reports about Daniel. These humans were all the same. Very well, he said. Stay behind the fleet. If we fail, run. Lisa nodded. Thank you. The fleet jumped to the Rekinar outpost. It was an ugly station built into an asteroid, surrounded by a dozen raider ships. The slavers saw the Cathsari vessels and immediately panicked. A message came from the outpost. The voice was the same captain who had captured Daniel. Cathsari fleet, what is the meaning of this? This is Rekinar space. You have no authority here. Thalvin opened a channel. "This is Commander Thalvin of the HFY Royal Guard. You are holding a human male who is under the protection of Queen Mother Syra HFY. Return him immediately and unharmed, or we will destroy your station." There was silence for a moment. Then the slaver captain laughed. "One human? You brought a fleet for one human? He is nothing. He is not even worth the fuel you burned getting here. That is not your decision to make. You have 5 minutes." The slavers did not believe the threat. They thought the HFY were bluffing. No ancient empire would start a war over a single human life. They were wrong. When the 5 minutes passed, Thalvin gave the order. The HFY fleet opened fire. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. Raider ships exploded like flowers made of fire. The station's shields fell under the weight of concentrated fire. HFY soldiers transported onto the station and moved through the corridors with deadly precision. Thalvin led the assault team personally. He had seen the recordings from the endless horizon. He had watched Daniel's shuttle draw away the raiders. He had read the reports of the humans' resistance under torture. He wanted to see this human for himself. They found Daniel in a cell deep inside the station. He was hanging from chains on the wall. His body was covered in burns and bruises. Blood dripped from cuts on his face and arms. His fingers were bent at wrong angles, but he was alive. Somehow, impossibly, he was still alive. A Vreckana guard stood in front of the cell, holding a weapon. He saw the HFY soldiers and raised his gun. Thalvin moved faster than the eye could follow. His blade cut through the guard before he could fire. The body fell to the ground. The commander looked at Daniel through the bars of the cell. The human raised his head slowly. One eye was swollen shut, but the other eye still held a spark of defiance. "Are you Commander Thalvin?" Daniel asked. His voice was rough from screaming. "I am. Is Valara safe?" Thalvin felt something shift inside him. This man was broken and bleeding. He had been tortured for days. And his first question was about the princess. "She is safe," Thalvin said. "You saved her life." Daniel nodded weakly. "Good. That is good." Then he passed out. Thalvin ordered his soldiers to cut Daniel down. They carried him gently, more gently than they had ever carried anyone who was not HFY. On the bridge of the endless horizon, Valara watched through the communication link as Daniel was rescued. Tears ran down her face. She did not try to hide them. Captain Lisa Morgan stood beside her. The human captain was crying too. "He's alive," Lisa whispered. "That stubborn fool is still alive." Valara wiped her eyes. "Your people are remarkable, Captain." Lisa shook her head. "Not all of us. Just some of us. Daniel is one of the special ones." The HFY fleet destroyed the rest of the outpost. No slavers were left alive. The message was clear. Touch someone under HFY protection and die. As they began the journey back to the HFY homeworld, Thalvin sat beside Daniel in the medical bay. The human was unconscious, but stable. He would live. The commander had served for over 100 years. He had met warriors from 100 species. But he had never met anyone quite like this simple human engineer. He had been wrong about humanity. They were not children. They were something far more dangerous. They were people who would sacrifice everything for what they believed was right. And that made them powerful beyond measure. The HFY homeworld was beautiful beyond words. Cities of crystal and silver rose toward the sky. Gardens floated in the air, held up by technology that humans could not understand. Everything was elegant and ancient and perfect. Daniel saw none of it when he first arrived. He was unconscious for 3 days while HFY doctors healed his wounds. They repaired his broken bones, closed his cuts, and eased his pain. When he finally woke up, he was lying in a bed softer than anything he had ever felt. A HFY nurse was watching him. She smiled when she saw his eyes open. Welcome back, human. You have been asleep for some time. Daniel tried to sit up. His body was stiff, but no longer in pain. He looked at his hands. His fingers were straight again. The burns on his arms had faded to nothing. "Where am I?" he asked. "The Royal Medical Center. You are a guest of the Queen Mother herself." Daniel blinked. He remembered the torture, the pain, the darkness. He remembered Talvin's face looking at him through the bars of his cell. Everything after that was blank. "The princess," he said. "Is she safe?" The nurse laughed softly. "You humans and your questions. Yes, the princess is safe. She has asked about you every day since you arrived." 2 days later, Daniel was strong enough to walk. Valara came to see him. She looked different now. She wore fine clothes and had silver jewelry in her hair. She looked like the princess she truly was, but her smile was the same. Warm and genuine. "Daniel," she said, "I am so happy you are alive." "That makes 2 of us," he replied. She sat beside him and looked at his healed hands. "I am sorry. I am sorry you suffered because of me. Do not be sorry. I made my choice. I would make it again." Valara shook her head. "I do not understand you humans. You are strange creatures. We get that a lot." She laughed. Then her face became serious. "My mother wants to meet you. Tomorrow, you will be brought before the royal court." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. "The Queen Mother wants to meet me?" "Yes. Do not worry. She does not bite." Valara paused. Usually. The next day, Daniel was given clean clothes and brought to the throne room. It was the largest room he had ever seen. Columns of white stone reached toward his ceiling so high it seemed to touch the sky. Thousands of Kefsari filled the room, all dressed in their finest clothes at the far end of the room. On a throne of crystal and gold sat Queen Mother Syra Kefsari. She was tall and regal, with the same blue skin and purple eyes as her daughter. But there was something ancient about her, something that made Daniel feel very small and very young. He walked down the center of the room. Every eye was on him. He was the first human to ever stand in this throne room. He was probably the first human most of these people had ever seen in person. He stopped at the base of the throne and did not know what to do. Should he bow? Kneel? He had no idea what the proper custom was, so he just stood there and waited. Queen Syra looked down at him. Her face showed no emotion. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she did something that made the entire room gasp. She stood from her throne and walked down the steps toward him. Fallon, who stood nearby, whispered to Daniel, "She has not risen for any outsider in 300 years." The queen stopped in front of Daniel. She was taller than him. Her presence was overwhelming, but her eyes were curious, not hostile. "Daniel Carter," she said. Her voice filled the room without effort. "You saved my daughter's life. You suffered torture rather than betray her location. Tell me why." Daniel looked at the most powerful being he had ever met. He thought about giving a clever answer or a diplomatic response. But in the end, he just told the truth. She was hurt and needed help. "That is all the reason I needed." The queen studied him for a long moment. "That is the same thing my daughter told me you said. I did not believe it at first. I thought there must be some other reason, some hidden plan. But I see now that you speak the truth." She turned to the assembled court. "My people, I have ruled this empire for 3 centuries. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched humanity grow from a small planet to a civilization of hundreds of worlds. I have always thought of them as children, young and foolish and not worth our attention." She paused and looked back at Daniel. "I was wrong." The room was completely silent. This human, this simple engineer from a cargo ship, has shown more courage and honor than many who claim to be warriors. He asked for nothing. He expected nothing. He simply did what he believed was right and was willing to die for it. Queen Syra raised her voice. Such spirit deserves recognition. Such honor deserves reward. She reached out and took Daniel's hand. Daniel Carter, I offer you a place in my royal house. Not as a servant or a political tool, but as family. You will carry my bloodline's mark. You will be under my protection forever. Any who threaten you will threaten the HFY Empire itself. Daniel did not know what to say. This was beyond anything he had ever imagined. He was just an engineer. He fixed engines and drank bad coffee and lived a simple life. Valara stepped forward from the crowd. It is the highest honor our people can give, she said softly. Please accept it, Daniel. Let this be a bridge between our peoples. Daniel looked at the queen. He looked at Valara. He looked at the thousands of faces watching him with a mixture of curiosity and wonder. He thought about saying no. He thought about going back to his old life. But then he realized something. This was not just about him. This was about humanity. This was a chance to change how one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy saw his people. I accept, he said. Queen Syra smiled. It was a small smile, but it transformed her face. She pressed her thumb to his palm, and a mark appeared on his skin. A symbol of her house, now part of him forever. Let it be known across the stars, she announced. Humanity is no longer young in our eyes. They have proven their worth through courage and compassion. This human is now my blood. Any who threaten his kind threaten the HFY Empire itself. The room erupted in sound. Some cheered. Some whispered in shock. History was being made. Later that night, Daniel stood on a balcony overlooking the alien city. The lights below were beautiful, like stars fallen to earth. Valara stood beside him. Are you happy? She asked. Daniel thought about the question. A week ago, he was an engineer on a cargo ship. Now he was part of an alien royal family. His life would never be the same. I am not sure happy is the right word, he said. But I think I did the right thing. That is enough for me. Valara smiled. You did more than the right thing, Daniel. You changed the galaxy. He laughed softly. I just rescued someone who needed help. The rest just sort of happened. That is what makes you special. You do not see yourself as special. You just do what you think is right and let the universe sort out the rest. Daniel looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there were billions of humans who had no idea what had happened today. Do you think this will really change things? He asked. Between our peoples? Valara nodded. It already has. My mother sees humans differently now. Others will follow. You are a bridge, Daniel. The first bridge between our worlds. He smiled at her. I am just an engineer. You are family now, she corrected him. And family is everything. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. A human and a princess. Two people from different worlds, connected by a simple act of kindness. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. But the greatest wonder of all was how one person, doing the right thing, could change everything. Daniel Carter had saved a life because it was right. And in doing so, he had changed the course of history. Not bad for a simple engineer from a cargo ship.